Really? Is that what we're doing tonight?
Hey,
He
that's what
said that
they
live. He just said that live on air. Hopefully that was a delay, because otherwise we just got blocked. What is going on, everyone? Welcome into the Oregon Postgame show live here every weekend after the Ducks play from the Voice of College Football channel. And tonight we had not much of a surprise, I think, in the end result, obviously. Maybe a little less scoring than we thought we would see, but at the end of the day, I think the same result.
Oh, yeah. I think we were just talking about it, prior to coming on air here. I think if Oregon wanted to put up some more points tonight, I think they could have, scored at will, if you will. But yeah, overall, it was a great game. I think we saw improvements from the defense, obviously. I mean, we clearly saw a much lesser quality opponent, but overall played really well. It was a great game.
Yeah, that's something we've kind of talked about, because we talked about them playing at Vanderbilt, Hawaii specifically playing at Vanderbilt, and having a chance to win that game, marching on the end at the end down the field. They lost at home to Stanford. They were in a shootout with University of Albany.
Mm-hmm.
But between Vanderbilt and Stanford, we don't know what we have with those two teams entirely. So I still expected a little fight. I don't think we expected that much of one, especially after Stanford getting blown out by USC. I think that kind of showed us what to expect. And yeah, it went pretty much as planned. But agreed, yeah, I think they laid off at some point in the game. Like, completely just laid off. Like, we're not going to really try to hurt you guys too much. I think out of respect a little bit. That if you saw the post game or the pregame stuff with Dan Lanning and with Chang,
mm-hmm.
Showing a lot of respect, and he was Lanning saying, "Hey, if you need any help with anything, let us know. We'll coordinate something." So I think there was just a lot of respect there, and trying to be compassionate with the whole wildfire situation. So I think they were just trying to prove a point, but be nice at the same time.
Oh, yeah. I couldn't agree more. I think, it was, we'll call it a controlled ass kicking tonight. It was, it was a beating done respectfully. But yeah, like you said, I feel like it was a respect thing. And, Dan Lanning was walking around pregame with like the lei on, and, just paying homage to the Hawaiian culture there. But yeah, that's exactly what it was. It was just, I don't think they wanted to deflate Hawaii's morale necessarily. But also, like you said, you kind of want to prove a point heading into conference play next weekend with a big matchup against Colorado. You kind of want to get your team firing on all cylinders, kind of clean up some of those little minor errors from the week prior, and get yourself ready to go for conference play.
Yeah, and there was a good comment from someone else on it's a different area, but they were like, "Why aren't we wearing the Polynesian uniforms tonight?" For the Hawaii game. I'm like, well, you don't want to wear the Polynesian uniforms when Hawaii's wearing, their stuff. So at the same time, I was like, I kind of get it. It kind of been cool, maybe, but no need for it. I mean, just wear the green and the yellow. Let's go.
Sure. I mean, in terms of the uniform, I think I'm just like everybody else. I'm a uniform fanatic. I love to see, obviously, the new designs and the cool, quirky uniforms that they come out with. And yeah, absolutely. It would have been cool to see something new this week. But, me personally speaking, I almost feel like it would be a little bit strange for Oregon to wear the Hawaiian uniforms while playing Hawaii, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? It's not a disrespectful way necessarily. It's just I feel like maybe there's a time and a place for those uniforms, and maybe not necessarily this game. Needless to say, I thought the uniforms looked great. I think everybody should be happy.
Yeah, as they said on the broadcast, for people who don't have Pac-12 network, of course, you have to either stream it or have like Fubo or Sling really to get them. the announcer at the beginning said, I guess this is quote unquote the traditional. It's just the green and yellow. It's almost like traditional, the simple green and yellow uniform, but I agree. But yeah, I mean, when we go back and look at the Tuesday show, when we talked about it, reviewing the Tech game, because the Tech game, there was so many question marks, I guess, and concerns to a degree, especially going up against a team like Hawaii that's a run and shoot, so they're very pass happy offense.
Mm-hmm.
Defensively, I think, as I recall, our question marks were: can our defense stop the pass?
Mm-hmm.
And so, from this game, after you just saw the whole thing, even eliminating, say, most of the fourth quarter, because at that point, kind of had laid off a little bit. We put the third stringers in there.
Mm-hmm.
Defensively, for me, I think they did really well.
Oh yeah, I mean I couldn't agree more. Especially I would say the pass defense. So we talked about earlier this week in the pregame, kind of preview for this weekend, how we knew Hawaii's offense. If they were going to score points, if they were going to move the ball, more than likely it's coming through the air. Their rush offense hasn't been much of a factor all year. We didn't really expect that to change this weekend, which didn't necessarily. But their quarterback, whatever Schrager, this man, he was averaging 350 yards a game through the air, a couple touchdowns. And tonight we held him to 131 yards and 1 touchdown in what I would call garbage time, with a pick. So, yeah, the pass defense did everything they needed to do. What we talked about earlier this week in the pregame show, they were aggressive. They limited penalties on the outside, limited big plays. They got the job done. I think they did exactly what we wanted to see them do heading into next weekend.
And I think that was the big one, is pressure, because that was what caused a lot of errant throws. It wasn't necessarily that the secondary was fully locked down, like batting balls away, but the pressure up front caused the quarterback for Hawaii to have to, Schrader, I believe it is. I may be mispronouncing that myself. I'm not sure. Sorry. But, that caused him to be inaccurate or overthrow his guys or be a little wide on some of his throws. So I think it was a combination of good coverage, but also the pressure up front. That really helped. And that's kind of what happened last week. That was something Lupoi, I know, had been very hard on the guys last week about, was pressure, like do your job, make them make bad throws. And for the most part tonight, we saw that. So I was very satisfied with the defense for what I saw. This reminds us of Portland State. In a way.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you said, I think a point of emphasis this week was getting to the quarterback, applying that pressure, especially when you understand you're going up against an offense that is going to be dropping back, 3-step drops, 5-step drops, fairly with frequency. So, getting to the quarterback was essential. And I think it's kind of deceptive if you look at the stat line tonight. I think Oregon had 2 sacks tonight, which if you're looking at it on paper, you're thinking, okay, here we have a undersized Hawaii line, an Oregon defensive front that we expected to get to the quarterback and only 2 sacks. But I think what the Hawaii quarterback did a really good job of was getting rid of the ball when he had to. He didn't take those sacks and he escaped the pressure when it happened. But like you said, we were getting to the quarterback with some frequency there, and he wasn't making a lot of comfortable throws, what I'd call, his feet were moving a lot of the times. He's out of the pocket, kind of making these impromptu throws, making these second, third read option throws. And like you said, that's kind of what we want to do. And if we can do that again next week, the following weeks, this Oregon defense will be sitting in a good spot.
Yeah, exactly. And that's it. Because, I'm not going to say the most impressive stat line ever, because a lot of this was in the third, fourth quarter where Ty Thompson came in, which I will say, we texted in the group text, and I was like, Ty looks very comfortable. He made some sharp throws, ran out of the pocket comfortably. And so I was impressed with Ty tonight again, much like Portland State, where he looked pretty sharp. And again, yeah, like we said, this is not trying to blow anyone out of the water. They weren't trying to kill Hawaii or embarrass them.
No, not by any stretch.
I mean, 55-10, that's embarrassing. But yeah, I mean, I think they could have easily put up 70 on Hawaii if they wanted to. But I mean, again, Nick's almost perfect game. And you think 2 or 3 of these were just little overshoots, just a little overthrows, just a little bit out of range, and those might have been touchdowns. So, still, really good game for him. Whittington, good game. The third down, 6-10, not bad.
Mm-hmm.
Not bad. I mean, not terrible. 2 for 2 on fourth. But the yardage, like for Hawaii, only 201 yards total, which, of course, most of theirs is passing. Right. Not shocking. Not shocking for a run-and-shoot offense.
No, and, I think what's a little more important to note here on that Hawaii yardage is, in that first half when Oregon did have their defensive starters in there, I believe they had, 66 yards heading into halftime. So, I mean, it was very controlled.
Something like it was something like that. Is there a way I can? I should have tried to find that before, but it was something like that. Yeah, it was literally like 66 yards.
Yeah,
something crazy. It was some really minuscule amount.
Yeah, it was a small number, and it's, mind you, we're playing Hawaii. This is not a perennial powerhouse by any stretch, but the defense did exactly what you need them to do.
Yeah, and I thought, Franklin did what he did as a receiver. Nix does what he does as a quarterback. There were a couple, again, overthrows, maybe slight miscommunication on the route. We're not OCs, so it's hard to tell. I'm sure they're going to look at that and go, okay, what do we do better? But tonight, instead of the short passing game, which we saw mostly against Portland State, and again, against Texas Tech, we saw a lot of the short passing game. That was complementary to what Tech was doing against us. Tonight, they went for a bunch of deep shots.
Yeah. Yeah, they did.
Try to open it up.
Yeah, and I kind of like to see it. It was just being a Duck fan, it was kind of fun to watch. And, one thing I was looking at here when I was kind of going through stats before we jumped on, Bo Nix is his 6 misses tonight. I think 4 out of those 6 were on throws 20 yards or deeper. So, it was everything, in that kind of wheelhouse, that 5 to 10 yard range and those plays. It was lights out all night,
Yeah, I mean, which is perfectly fine. I mean, if that's what you have to get and have to do, that's fine. I like them opening it up. And even the 2 or 3 that were overthrows, they were close.
Mm-hmm.
They weren't like super far off. It was just maybe there's something that needs to be adjusted in the route, or, with the first year offense, you never know those little details. That's at the OC and the coaching staff to figure out. But, I mean, you look at yards per pass even with Hawaii, 3.2 yards per pass completion, per pass. Whereas Oregon, basically 10 yards per pass. They were literally having to take everything underneath.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas we were getting decent chunk plays.
Yeah, they definitely struggled to stretch the ball, and they tried it, and it was pretty non-effective all night. And, obviously we saw a lot of short passes, short little screens, little crossing patterns over the middle, and, we'll take that all night in all reality.
And their one pick was kind of unfortunate because it was just a tip up by the receiver. And, our guy Jackson he was right there. He was like hey.
Yeah, it was gifted.
Yeah, it was one of those like right place, right time. So that was kind of unfortunate for them, good for us. But again, no turnovers for us. So once again, that's a winning philosophy, winning strategy, no turnovers. Well, we didn't really rush it that much more than them. I mean, they had 19 rushing attempts. Some of this, I think, a couple by the quarterback. I'm not 100% sure what his stat was.
Yeah.
But we didn't. We ran it 30 times, and we threw it for, what's our total passing attempts? Yeah, 34. It's almost 50-50.
I mean, okay. To be fair, their quarterback had 3 rushes for minus 16 yards.
That's actually pretty good because, again, on Tuesday we said, I said, this guy's not a runner, but he's shifty enough. He can run if he wants to.
He can move around a little bit. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, he's mobile enough.
Yeah, he just you could tell definitely didn't want to use it tonight. I don't think that man wanted to get hit. He's trying to go in healthy into conference play just like everybody else.
Which is fair. That's why I think tonight they laid off quite a bit because it could have been a lot worse. Because like we said, we had talked about, hey, second quarter about 6 minutes left. They slowed everything down.
Mm-hmm.
They kind of were like, instead of trying a lot of short option stuff, almost trying red zone options or short distance options, they slowed down the offense completely from what we were seeing before.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, look at that is a great angle. That is a great angle.
You like that angle?
Not really. I was being sarcastic, but
yeah, I'm on my phone. Actually worked this weekend. So
yeah,
where are you guys discussing?
We were just talking how Oregon slowed down the offense about 5-6 minutes left in the second quarter. They kind of slowed down the offense to try like short yardage situation, almost like situational short yardage plays instead.
Yeah, it's like they didn't want to show up anymore. They wanted to just kind of like cruise in. They knew the game was in hand and they just wanted to cruise into next week.
Yeah, absolutely.
Not show anything more offensively for Colorado to scheme.
Well, then, like we were saying, yeah, everyone's now aiming to get into conference play healthy. For those of us who aren't playing conference games yet, everyone's just trying to go, okay, let's. This is what we're worried about: getting there healthy, get the win.
Oh yeah, I think coming into this game, everybody understood how this game was going to play out. You know, I don't want to say Hawaii wasn't trying. That's not the case. Those men obviously worked their ass off, but I think they knew that they were about to be outplayed, and their chances of winning this game were basically zero. You know, it wasn't happening, and Oregon understood the same thing. They pulled their players. They took their foot off the gas, and like you said, Spaz just kind of trying to cruise into next week.
Yeah, what's the latest from Boulder?
I haven't looked yet, but I mean, like for this game for Oregon, Hawaii, relax. This game was -38 or -38 or -38.5 for Oregon. Well, Oregon covered that. So the line was actually not that far off. Surprisingly.
No.
I can pull this up, but I'm going to have to stop sharing because my screen will go away. But yeah, I mean, even here, the possession was pretty even. So Oregon,
no, dude, no, I'm online.
The possession was pretty even. I mean, it was almost 50-50. Really.
Yeah. I think a lot of that, to be honest, came from those Oregon quick strikes. I think about the first drive. It was a Bucky 10-yard run and a Troy Franklin. What do you have, like a 60-yard touchdown or whatever it was?
something like that. I need to go back and rewatch. Sometimes when you're watching that and then you're trying to watch multiple other games too, you kind of like start losing track. Plus, throughout the day, you're watching how many other games. You start losing track of like what plays were what.
Yeah.
All I can say today is this is the other thing we talked about Tuesday, and I'm going to stop sharing the screen here for a second. I'm not thrilled about still. 9 penalties for 76 yards. Now, 4 to 5 of these were in completing the second half during quote unquote garbage time with some younger players. But you still would like to see this around like 5 for 50, maybe tops, hopefully.
Yeah, they were. The first half looked good, and I think, like you said, a lot of this, I think there were 3 of them that came in the last 3 minutes that obviously came with, some of our 2s and 3s being on the field. But yeah, like you said, regardless of who's on the field, it kind of shows us a little undisciplined, and you can't have that. It's going to cost you. It's going to bite you in the ass at some point throughout the season. And I think, Dan, I think everybody on the team, I think all the fans understand that they need to get that cleaned up. Otherwise, eventually, like I said, it's going to come back to haunt them.
So, Ben, question for you. Do we want to do a mock run on Tuesday, or is Derek going to cover? Because I'll be home next Saturday.
Derek will cover. I think we're going to work on that, and then, but I'll be here Tuesday, so we don't have to worry about that. But we'll do the mock run then. But I think, penalties, that's it. We can't do a Texas Tech game again. You're not going to get away with that against more than a couple teams at most. Like Hawaii, if we had 300 yards of penalties, we still would have gone out there with a win if we wanted to. Fine. Cal, Stanford, maybe. Fine. But other than that, you can't do that. No. You got to keep it to like 50 penalty yards or less to have a really secure shot at winning the game. Unless you're just totally blowing them out of the water, but you can't depend on that every week. So, the penalties better tonight. Much more disciplined overall, but still not great.
No, there's definitely some work to be done. I think, if we have 9 penalties for 76 yards next week, once again, I'm going to be sitting on this same show next week going, I'm disappointed. We need to work on the penalties, so that needs to come down.
Which at this moment too, I'd have to go back and rewatch where the penalties came from. Now I don't know if they were mostly defensively, offensively, but regardless, you still can't have them because it's either backing up your offense from a 3rd and short, or you're giving a first down like we had last week with Tech. Mm-hmm. And you still can't have those.
No.
Yeah.
But hey, I will see you guys Tuesday. I'm going to bounce. It's shoddy here. And this game looks terrible.
All righty, Spaz. You'll go
I'll see you guys Tuesday.
All right, Spaz.
All right.
Well, as to what Spaz was asking, Colorado just blocked a field goal, so it's still 21-14 in Colorado State, they'll lead.
Okay, all right. We got a game in Boulder.
Yeah, apparently, much more than I think anyone thought there would be.
Hey.
To be honest, much more than anyone thought there would be. Special teams. There was an opportunity early in the game for them to go for it on 4th down, but Lanning decided, hey, I think it was 4th and 3, 4th and 4 from like the 15 or 20-yard line, but he let Lewis kick it. Mm-hmm. And I think that's, keep the special teams fresh because he has this aggressive nature, but at the same time, he goes, okay, I want to make sure these guys are ready to go.
Yeah, and another thing we were talking about before we jumped on stream here tonight is it was like second drive of the game. After that big Oregon touchdown, they got another 3-0, got the ball back right away. They had like a 3rd and 8, and they do a little halfback dive up the middle. get content with 3 yards and end up kicking, 30, 40 some yard field goal, move on. I think kind of like you said, it's kind of getting Camden some more in-game reps. I think it's more about getting your team situationally prepared heading into some of these bigger situations, But yeah, it was, and also kind of going back to the controlled ass kicking and their kind of respect you want to give them to, where you don't necessarily want to show them up on the scoreboard. You also want to get your team some work, kind of treat it like a glorified scrimmage, as you will, at that point.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't sure what we'd get from Hawaii. I mean, the line was so, when you see a line that big, you go, whatever. But at the same time, what does the team do? How does the team react if they know that type of stuff? And I think the coaching staff, this shows the coaching staff going, don't worry about that. Let's just do what we do. Practice our stuff, all phases.
Mm-hmm.
I know we were talking in the thing saying, hey, I wish it was mostly Tez Johnson, wasn't it? Or was it Bryant doing the punt return?
I think it was Tez tonight.
Yeah, I think mostly it was Tez. And there was I wish Tez would not try to do catch every punt return and try to run it back.
Mm-hmm.
I get that. But I think at the same time, this is the type of game where you want to see what he has on those difficult ones. So instead of it bouncing 10 more yards, can he stop it? And it's kind of one of those games, the coaching staff has to tell him, hey, don't get cocky, because that could be bad in some situations.
Yeah, like I said, we understood what needed to happen tonight. I think, it's definitely one of those situations where you come into this game understanding what you need to do, what the result's probably going to look like. And I don't think anybody's walking away with their head bigger because they throttled the Hawaii team at home. A win's a win, albeit I don't think it's very impressive with all due respect to Hawaii. It was just, like I said, it's more about getting in-game reps and getting into next week. And to be honest, I think that kind of ties into the next comment down here we had from James. He said, what's up with Bucky? One game isn't where it should be for him.
That's fair. I don't know. We haven't not figured out how Will Stein is using these guys exactly, because James is getting a lot of reps.
And this is true. And just another thing to really keep in mind, Duck fans, is the last 2 weeks, if we think about what happened, going back to the game plan last week, one of the things Dan Lanning kind of talked about throughout his pressers throughout the week is they got away from their game plan last week, right? They understood they weren't moving the ball on the ground, kind of opted out, started moving the ball through the air, got away from that run game last week, which I think is part of it. Obviously they had a great week one, had over 100 yards. It's all fine and dandy. It's Portland State. You head into Texas Tech, and yeah, obviously we'd like to see another performance where he backs it up with another 100-yard game and, a couple touchdowns on the ground. But to his credit, they kind of abandoned that run game, and that's fine. They obviously moved the ball and they won, and he did what he had to do when he did get his opportunities, but he didn't really have those type of opportunities last week. And then it comes into this week and you're thinking, okay, well, here we are. We have a Hawaii team, defensive line's undersized, linebacking core lost their best leader, secondary's weak. We should be able to run the ball all over, which is great. But it also goes back to next week we're heading into Colorado. I don't think there was a whole lot of creativity that was put into this. If you really look at how this offensive line was functioning, there weren't a lot of stunts pulled tonight. There were not a lot of pulling guards. It was a very, very basic run game. A lot of halfback dives. I think there was a quick pitch there, a couple powers. And yeah, I don't think I would worry about Bucky's explosiveness at this point. When he does have the ball, he does look good. We saw the missed tackles happen tonight. I wouldn't really worry about it. Now next week, heading into Colorado, Colorado, they don't have a great run defense. Their defense, as we see right now, is kind of suspect. We'll get into that a little more on Tuesday. But, if Bucky has another game where we're seeing 10 plus touches and 50 some yards, then we could have this conversation again next week and go, okay, is there something wrong? At this point, I don't think there is, though. I think it's just sheer volume, kind of being conservative heading into next week and abandoning your game plan early last week?
Well, I think this week too, it was, we know what Irving can do. Whittington didn't really play game one. He did last week.
Mm-hmm.
So now it's getting him more reps this week. And then getting James as the solidified third string running back and short yardage guy, seeing what he can do. You already know what Bucky can do. And I think the O-line did pretty well tonight. Again, they held up, no sacks. So I don't think it's not giving Bucky the chance. We already know what he can do. It's getting Whittington the reps to get warmed back up, and then continuing to let James have the ball more and more and more. Plus, we didn't see Bo run, or maybe once, but we didn't see him have to run. He didn't do any design stuff, nothing like that. Which again is still big because they're saving that. Because I know that there's some stuff somewhere in their playbook, but the O-line held up pretty well. And Colorado State just blocked a field goal from Colorado. Sorry, I have the game literally over here. It's so hard.
Oh yeah,
I'm to look back.
I'm bootlegging it, so I'm playing behind.
So hard. Oh yeah, they blocked it. Yeah, that was not even a miss. They blocked. Colorado State blocked one. So back and forth blocks. Amazing.
Yeah.
I agree with Raymond. Hawaii did a really good job, and I said it on Tuesday. Hawaii has a fast defense.
Mm-hmm.
They're not the greatest at covering necessarily, but when they move very quickly, and I think they did a pretty good job for the most part in space tackling, which is also again credit to them for why maybe Oregon didn't score as much as they should have, because they were able to limit some of the bigger plays.
Yeah. I think like we talked about earlier in the week, I think Hawaii is a program who's obviously, a little bit down. They're on the upswing as a program, at least in my opinion. I think, they're heading back into what we'd consider, relevancy, being a G5 team. But yeah, they're very sound. I thought they played a very sound game. Another thing we talked about earlier, Ben, before the show was the turnovers, and Hawaii faced a defense that clearly outmatched what their offense could provide tonight, and they held onto the ball. They didn't turn the ball over. They weren't careless. They didn't seem to be flustered by the score, regardless of if it was 55-10 or 0-0 at the beginning of the game. Hawaii tried to play their game. They know what they wanted to come in here and do tonight. So yeah, kudos to them. They played a very sound game. It was, they're outmatched, and that's no disrespect to Hawaii. It's the reality of the situation. Yeah.
And again, that's credit to both Hawaii fighting, but also to, again, with such a game like next week, like we said, with Colorado, hosting Colorado, it's easy for a lot of teams to overlook, especially with, like we said, is this going to be a hangover game for Oregon? Well, apparently it wasn't.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we wanted to see. We did not want to see them come out and be flat, and they weren't. It was, as I recall, 3 and out, and then 2 plays touchdown to Oregon. I was like, okay, the offense is not sluggish there. Whatever. Don't worry about that. So that was what we wanted to see, and that's what we saw. And defensively, exactly what we want to see. Aggressiveness, a little more gap soundness in the runs, but also better defense and pressure. And we saw all of those. Again, it's Hawaii, but that's what we wanted to see, and that's what they showed us. So I'm like, all right.
That's very true. And, one of the things that I stressed both last weekend, post-game, what I was frustrated about, and, preview show this week on Tuesday, something I really wanted to see some improvement on the defensive side was linebacker play today. And I thought the linebacker play was extremely sound throughout the game, both in, gap coverage in the, in the run game and kind of fulfilling assignments in the pass game. overall they're very sound. So yeah, I was happy to see that as well, just to see even some minuscule improvement over what we saw last weekend, because last weekend the linebacking group as a core was it wasn't swell.
Yeah.
So I'm happy to see that kind of changed up. I'll be a little more encouraged if we see the same quality play next week out of our linebacking core.
Oh, well, definitely. I mean, also again, like last week, the whole philosophy of the coverage defensively was different than this week.
Mm-hmm.
It had, I mean, not just because it had to be, but just because, I mean, Hawaii doesn't have a 6'9" tight end running free over the middle, like Texas Tech did. So it's like, I mean, almost no one could cover a guy that size. That man's ridiculously large. But,
yeah, you're not lying. It was definitely a notable difference in the size and quality of play over the last 2 weeks. To be honest, I think it was good for my heart to see a blowout again this week. I don't think I could have handled 2 in a row.
and that's why we talked about that. It's like, is it good to have? I mean, in a way, is it good to have had what we had last week? And I said I think in some ways it is, because it allows a team, one, to say, okay, you've been on the road in an environment like that,
mm-hmm.
which I was sitting there on the sideline watching them, and they overcame the odds when it looked dire and impossible, and the team never stopped, and they pulled it out defensively and offensively, especially in the fourth quarter. A lot of the teams, better than us, as they haven't been tested. Now we have been.
Yeah.
So what happens when that team gets tested? Well, we've already been tested, so maybe we can overcome the. At the same time, it's a good thing for the team. It's morale building. It's positive. It's encouraging. I'll say that.
Oh, absolutely. I would argue it till I'm blue in the face. Having a game like you did last weekend in Texas Tech, on the road, in prime time, hostile environment, facing adversity. Yeah, it's absolutely a good thing that they were able to do that. With that being said, would I've liked to see a blowout last weekend and be sitting here right now looking at 3-0 and, a plus 300 damn near point margin? Yeah, absolutely. That'd be wonderful. But in all reality, in terms of functionality and what it does for your program, yeah, I mean, it's good to be battle tested. It's like, it'd be like going into battle in real life with 0 training. Obviously, you want to be prepared for the situation. You want to simulate these things as best as humanly possible. And then when you obviously, have the chance to get back in the situation and feel some of those same feelings again, you're going to be in control of your emotions. You're going to know how to carry yourself. It's all about being comfortable in uncomfortable situations. And I think Texas Tech that's exactly what happened. Oregon put their backs against the wall, and in an uncomfortable situation, they functioned well. And I think, going forward, obviously we're going to face some adversity playing some of these great teams that we have on our schedule. It's going to come in handy someday. So yeah, I'm very glad we got tested.
And then the rotation, like with these other 2 games, get those second, third string guys a lot of practice. Because like I said, at Tech, I was like, hey, I would love by halftime to have run Texas Tech out of their damn stadium. Well, that didn't happen. But that is all the more reasons we've been tested now, overcome it, whereas the other teams are just, whatever. So we've had that road test now. Yep. So that's out of the way. Move forward. And I think that's what catches a lot of teams off guard, is when they actually get tested. Now we can learn from it and make the adjustments.
Absolutely.
And yes, Raymond, Oregon could have scored more. There was those 2 or 3 kind of barely overthrows that happened. Those are the easy touchdowns. That's something the offense, the whole staff has to coordinate to fix, whether it's an overthrow or the route was a little off, something like that. Some fine-tuned adjustment or something like that. I mean, I'm not an OC, so Couldn't tell you on those. Yeah, Tim. Yeah, I texted these guys beforehand. I was like, dude, Hunter just got killed on the sideline. At least it looked like it. I was like, eesh, that sucks. But if he's out against Oregon, hey, that's good. He might be back for USC though, so watch out for that. Watch out for that man. Everyone has to watch out for that guy. And yeah, exactly, Jason. The penalty yardage is not great, but most of them were caused by definitely the third stringers. There was still a couple that was like, meh. You would like to see cleaned up.
I can think of just a like a little one, like an ineligible man downfield, that happened on our ones. Definitely. It's just, those little ticky-tacky things that, you can kind of clean up throughout the week. But yeah, like you said, 3s and 4s, a lot of the penalties. Ben and I were talking pregame or postgame here, and I think, it was like something like 3 of these penalties happened in the last 3 minutes, in which, clearly our ones where, their sweat had already dried on the sidelines. So yeah, it's definitely something to keep an eye on, something that needs to be cleaned up going into next week. But, it happens.
Yeah, it's just little things, and it goes across the board, no matter if you're a first string, second string, or third string. Because if we're going to be rotating in and out, you can't be doing these, because that could be the costly time where they put you in because everyone else is exhausted late in the fourth quarter, and you're the guy that does it.
Yeah, exactly. So, and Jason, he brings up a good point here with the Brandon Dorless comment. Another penalty that happened to our ones, the roughing the passer penalty. Unfortunately, I understand why they called it. Anytime you make contact at the head and neck area, you have to throw the flag. It's automatic. Doesn't matter how forcible it is. And, he knew it. The commentators knew it. It was just, yeah, I agree. It sucks. It's stupid. But I guess at the end of the day, I understand why they had to do it. But like going back to those timely penalties, that was a third down play right there. Oregon was off the field in theory. And because of another, stupid penalty, right back on the field we go.
Yeah, and that's the point. I mean, it's the same as if you take a shot at the shins, near the shin area of a quarterback, you're going to get called for roughing. It's, the below the knee thing.
Yeah, it's nature of the beast.
You're correct. You guys are correct here. I'm not saying that. I think it was more Raymond towards Jason, but yeah, Utah has been tested, and Utah has been tested, especially with their backups. So, but then you have to find out when Utah gets Rising back, what are they going to actually look like? We don't know. Yeah, we don't know. It's going to be different, but. So Oregon as a team with Nix, we've seen what it's like to get tested for a whole game.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of the difference. But
yeah, I mean, this is definitely not either Ben and I saying that Oregon is the only team that has been tested here. I think it's just more of a fact we're kind of pointing out that it is a beneficial thing in the long run that it did happen.
Yeah, I mean, Utah was definitely tested at Baylor. Obviously, Washington went to Michigan State today, but they blew them out. That's not a test. They blew them out as expected. And Oregon had its extreme test with Texas Tech. So, I mean, the point is, those are the types of tests, especially on the road, in those environments. If you're at your home field, that's great. It still helps, though, having those tests. So just like Utah has. So there hasn't been that many teams, though, legitimately that's had a test and overcome it outside of like Utah and Oregon right now. Everyone else is pretty much blowing everyone out.
Yeah, I would argue Washington State maybe. Washington State, they had a top 20 matchup. Was it last week or 2 weeks ago? I think it was last
week. Last week, Wisconsin. Yeah.
Yeah, that was a good game. But yeah, like you said, kind of the tests so far have been kind of limited. I think Arizona went to Mississippi State last weekend. That was a really good game. That they were definitely tested. Came out on, unfortunately they lost, but
I mean it's a good question because today at this point, outside of Colorado right now that's going on.
Mm-hmm.
Pac-12 is still undefeated. Not undefeated, but Pac-12 has not lost today, non-con, right?
No, we lost. It was Arizona lost to Mississippi State last week.
That was last week, but I'm saying today we haven't lost.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I know Stanford was losing at one point to Sac State. I don't know what ended up happening. Winning.
Sacramento State. That's a damn good FCS team, though. That's a damn good FCS team.
Sac State beat Stanford in
Stanford. Oh, Stanford. Way to down the reputation of the Pac-12 because I was going to I had to. Damn.
Yep, and actually, speaking of tests and overcoming good FCS teams today, Cal, they were down 17-0 early to Idaho, and Idaho is a really good FCS team, and Cal overcame that one. I think they scored 31 unanswered.
I saw that.
31 unanswered in that game.
Yeah. That's why it surprised me so much. They couldn't score anything against Auburn last weekend. Almost. I mean, they missed multiple field goals, but it was like, damn. Well, still okay. So we have one loss. If Colorado holds on here, we took one loss.
Arizona State's down by about 30 to Fresno State right now too.
Holy shit, are they?
It's 26-0 there.
Oh my god! I was watching a little bit earlier, and they looked like they were doing good defensively. I guess not. Okay. Well, regardless, I'm gonna have to look at the stats tomorrow because Sunday night show will still be: is the Pac the best conference? And that's depth-wise because I don't know what's going on around the rest of the country. Tennessee lost to Florida. They lost to 2 backup quarterbacks from Utah. Alabama barely with Florida State escapes BC after BC gave up 17 penalties.
It was ridiculous.
I don't know what's going on right here.
To be honest, like this year of all years feels like it is so wide open in terms of who can actually win a national championship this year. Your Georgias and Alabamas that you're so accustomed to seeing, like they have very clear-cut cracks. I don't think there's a team in the country who I can look at and say they don't have a defect. So that's kind of exciting going forward. Stanford, unfortunately, is not one of those teams I was talking about, and yeah, they are dookie. They stink. They were projected
to be maybe the worst Power 5 team this year. Yeah. So they're holding up to that right now.
I really think them and Vanderbilt, maybe Boston College, maybe Virginia, should all play in like a Final Four toilet bowl, and we'll see who the worst team in the country is.
I would absolutely love that. I would watch it. And I mean, and it basically would be the winner means they're not the worst. Like the first round winner, not the worst. Second round winner, okay. And whoever loses the final two, out of the final two, whoever loses, they're the worst.
Yep.
That's how it would work.
Oh gosh. Yeah,
not the title you want. Yeah, poor Dilly. Yeah. We knew this was going to be a rough year for Arizona State, their first year.
Well, it's not even that. And Jaden Rashada is out tonight, too. He was a light scratch this week with an injury. So they're down a quarterback. And I think, Drew Pine's their backup quarterback. And Drew Pine is, we'll call it far from formidable.
Yeah. And, Jason, Bama's got some issues. I mean, they gave up like 6 sacks to stop.
South Florida. Oh my
God.
South Florida hasn't even won like a P5 game in like 3 years. I don't know how this happens, bro. I thought I was crazy when you guys were texting the group chat and you're like, 3-3 Alabama. And I'm like, there's no way.
Yeah. Yes, it was 3-3. I was like, what is happening in this game because I left even the Florida State one. I was like, and now it's turned into a blowout. And then I saw like 28-31. I'm like, wait, what? I had to flip back to that one. I was like, what?
Yeah, we actually, I was talking to one of my other buddies about the slate this week, and I thought the college football slate overall was bad. On paper, there was not a lot of good games, but I was texting him today and telling him how this turned out to be one of the more entertaining weeks out of any of them, to be real honest. Like, it was just a whole bunch of upsets that were either happening or on the verge of happening throughout the weekend. So it's been exciting.
I think after week one, definitely after week two, I think I said it somewhere. I don't know if I said it on the Tuesday show, the Postgame show, or on a different stream. I said, for some reason, this is feeling like 2007 again.
Mm-hmm.
Just
you did.
A potential chaotic, absolutely just weird year potentially going to happen. And I don't know. Wait, what is it? I don't know what to think about the game right now. I mean, it's literally sitting right here on this screen, and I'm just kind of going, I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, every once in a while I'm peering up. I got the game going on right above my little monitor here. But
it's bizarre. Let's put it that way.
It is, man, and it's definitely the most chippy football game I've seen yet so far this year. Just between the pregame antics with their little, screaming match before the game had even started, and all the personal fouls and the hit on Travis Hunter,
and the back-to-back drives of block field goals from each team, one by each team. I'm like, when has that ever happened before?
The man who's throwing for 500 yards a game was suddenly throwing for 100 yards. Yeah, I don't know, man. It's been a weird game. It's been fun to watch, but I think in terms of Oregon, it shows good things. Colorado has some defects, just like everybody else, and I think Colorado State is doing a fantastic job kind of exposing that tonight.
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to look at this really quickly because we're just sitting here and I'm not sharing a screen right now. That's fine. I don't need to do that. I'd like to look at what the stat is currently. I guess I can just, there we go, box score. Just what is the rushing stat for right now? Colorado State has run the ball for 72 yards. Colorado has run it for 27.
That's what I'm saying, and this is something we had.
Oh my God!
But we had touched on it this week, just kind of talking about what Colorado had been doing, and man, their O-line is an absolute liability. Perfect. Jason here in the comments has almost mirrored exactly what I was about to go on a little tangent on here. Colorado's O-line and their run game are awful.
Yes.
Dylan Edwards is a great running back, and by that I mean, he comes out of the backfield and he's a very valuable receiver. But in terms of their run game and their blocking assignments and both run and pass blocking, no, they're like Swiss cheese. These guys are like hit and miss.
Even this, 277, 9 yards. Now 2 INTs, not good. And while that's really good, minuscule in comparison to this. And then, total 75 yards and 27 yards.
This is obviously all stuff that I'm very much looking forward to sharing with the Duck audience and kind of digging into on Tuesday on our preview show. But if Colorado plays a shadow of anything like they are right now next weekend, they're in for an absolute ass kicking. So
that's why I don't know. This is one of those games where it's like it's a in-state rivalry, especially with the heat of the game.
And that's the thing.
Were they looking at Oregon, or it's one of those things where did they look ahead a little bit? Not.
It's hard to know. The media, they really like to blow up any little thing. So obviously, the hat and sunglasses comment this week that had kind of swept over social media and turned into Dion, buying him for his team, and then subsequently his stocks in his own sunglasses company skyrocketed. But it's just they want the viewers. It was blown out of proportion a little bit intentionally, I feel, because this game had so much emotion and so much build up to it. And clearly, we're getting a fantastic result as a result of it. I don't think anybody expected Colorado State to come out and be leading with 11 minutes to go.
Yeah, I mean, look, if Colorado loses a game, it'd be kind of surprising if they don't make some miraculous comeback. But at the end of the day, I think everyone would have said, "Oh, Colorado will win this game," not the first two.
Mm-hmm.
So already they have overachieved to a degree. It was 3.5 wins, I think, their total this year.
Mm-hmm.
I think, and I said no. I could see them winning 4. And people were like, "Where?" And I was like, "Well, Cal, Stanford, depending on who they play." I didn't really look at the schedule, but I was like, if they have them, Arizona State, they could probably win one of those.
Yeah, don't get me wrong.
They're pretty overachieved, so they're already going to get past 4.
Yeah, I think so too. And this is not me sitting here bashing Colorado saying they're absolute shit. Clearly they're not. They're a team that absolutely needs to be respected, or they can
touchdown CSU.
Yeah, or can throw for 500 yards on your head. But at the same time, kind of like my man Jason here again, Colorado is suspect. They absolutely are suspect, and they got some questions that they need to answer. Raymond, my man, this is the end. I love it.
I just love watching when the camera shows the home crowd going.
I'm about to watch it right now. I got the 3rd and 7 play going right now since I'm a little bit behind.
Oh, you're gonna love it. This is a Duck specialty so far this year that I've seen.
Oh, lovely.
Pretty simple.
Handles the blitz well. Yeah, see ya.
Pretty simple, over the middle. He just outruns everyone.
It's just, to be honest, what it kind of looks like to me is Colorado's defense has a lot of the same problems we have. But yeah, we'll get into that a little bit too.
Well, that's a whole Tuesday. That's a whole Tuesday night show. Which, well, we don't want to drag Hawaii into the, too far in the dumps here, and we don't want to preview Colorado too much because we're going to have to see how this game plays out. Just like with Oregon, we went down 2 scores and we got out of it. So, yeah, we have to see what happens with Colorado because they're a feisty team. Hopefully they won't be the letdown of the Pac-12 today, but
we'll see. Plenty of game left.
We also, I'm still not decided because I am the dictator of the score prediction and the winners. I'm the dictator. What I say, who wins? What I say goes. So, give me 2 seconds to put this in. So, run your mouth for a second, Derek.
I got nothing to run, but I know where this one's going, and regardless of what's happening here, Ben, I know who the true winner is this week, and just not taking it from my goddamn heart, buddy. That's back-to-back dubs for your boy.
Well, are you playing Price is Right rules, or are you playing just straight up? So let's see here.
Hey man, half point, whole point. It's all a dub.
All right. I'm gonna. You know what? I'm gonna give this to. That damn right. Yeah, damn right. I dictate.
He says dictate this shit, big dog.
Yeah, damn right. I dictate. So, according to Tuesday, our score predictions, which right now Derek here has 1 point and Spaz has 1 point. Me and Sean have 0. Is by closest score predictions overall. Trying to balance it out as best as possible. Luckily, we haven't had to do much with that. But as to right now, what we had tonight, as noted, Hawaii. It was 55-10. Our score predictions were Spaz 66-13, Sean 54-13, Derek 56-13, and I had 73-17. I thought we'd run up the score. I should have known better. So what our issue is right now, and I'm going to allow the chat to chime in on this. How about that? It'll be a non-bias.
Oh, there we go. We got to get the chat included anyway.
A little non-bias here. Is Sean more deserving at 54-13, or Derek more deserving at 56-13 with a 55-10 win, or do we split it half point each?
We're about to find out.
That is the conundrum I'm at right now, because I mean, you can't get more even. In
my case here, I'm saying we got it down to the exact point tie. So either it needs to be we both get a whole point or we both get a half a point, because either it's everybody wins or nobody wins. So everybody gets a whole point or everybody gets a half a point. Regardless, what you're trying to do here, Ben, is you're not on the board yet. So you can't fall too far behind. And I know you want to keep me in striking distance, but you can't keep me down, big dog.
I repeat to Raymond, dictate. That's all I'm asking this chat, because
I'm coming to the title regardless.
This is definitely a split as it can be. I mean,
yeah, quite literally down to a point.
It's bad.
My man Raymond has spoken. Raymond, I always knew you're my guy. I bring you up a lot in this show, and that's because you're my guy. I knew it all along. This is my dude.
Raymond, you're blocked from this show.
Raymond, I can't let that happen, buddy.
It is tough, because that's why I said in our group text, I'm like, well, we're playing Price is Right rules. Like, if you went over, just the under get it. This is a tough one. What I may have to do is Tuesday, legitimately do a coin flip with you guys.
Well, see, the reason I don't think we can do the Price is Right rules is because we haven't been applying the over rule to anything we've done previously. So then we'd have to go back and start taking away points that had already happened because we probably had already gone over.
No, that's because you guys, generally most of you have been pretty good on some of the other scores. But maybe Tuesday, what we'll have to do is initiate the first ever coin flip. Me or Spaz, so it's whatever, it's just, and then one of you calls heads or tails, and we'll just have to do it that way. I don't know how to split this other than a half point. I mean, literally.
Like I said here, my thing is, I'll tell you what, you either each gets a half a point, or you can just give it to him. Because, I mean, if you're trying to take the points out of my pocket just because I won, I mean, hey, if that's what you got to do to keep this thing close, then by all means.
All right, close. Sean wins. You just did it. Sean wins.
There we go. Everybody just know that I still win this thing at the end of the year. Week 3 was an asterisk. Come back to this.
Sean wins. I have 0 points. Shut the hell up. It's not I'm not awarding myself points here.
It is what it is, man.
Because I was going to say, I was like, well, remember, if you get the exact point total correct, which you guys were pretty close, it would have been 2 points. Then you would have been pulling away. That's for sure.
That's true.
Derek, anything else you want to comment on? Seeing what we saw from tonight, because, again, next Saturday, as noted, and it's on TV right now, Colorado is going to Oregon, and we have to play them next week.
Yeah, no, I'm just going to finish watching up this Colorado game, just kind of hoping that the intensity ramps up at practice here this week, and they come out prepared for what's probably going to be a high intensity, high emotion game next week.
I mean, that's it. I think we'll be ready. That definitely hope. And at least the defense again looked better tonight, a little more solid overall. So just the dumb penalties, some of the stupid penalties, which tonight were not as egregious as they had been. But
yeah, it's, you know, like you said, it's just the little shit that's got to get cleaned up before next weekend. Obviously, I'm sure, you know, being 2 weeks in a row where penalties have been an issue, regardless of, you know, which string is on the field, I think that'll probably be an emphasis of practice this week. Just kind of staying in control of your emotions, staying in control of the moment, you know, not making those bonehead decisions that happen from time to time. So, yeah, I think that gets cleaned up a little bit, and I'm sure it'll be a point of emphasis this week at practice.
And also, by the way, before we run out of here, as usual, go ahead and, as the ticker says below, even though a couple of guys are not here tonight or, you know, couldn't be here consistently, connection, etc., make sure you go ahead and follow Derek, Sean, Spaz at below. Because Derek is, you know, wait, who's Derek? Original.
Only one way to find out.
Spaz at the Rocky Classic, and then Sean Bryant on TikTok. Sean Bryant 778 on Instagram, and Chubby Nerd on TikTok. And then you can always find me here as usual, Exploring with Ben and Sam here on YouTube, or Exploring with Ben on Twitter. And then make sure, join us every Tuesday here, 9 p.m. Central Time, 7 Pacific, for the Oregon Ducks live show where we preview the upcoming game of the week. And that's all I got. Just like that. It's like, yeah, I'm out of information. Oh, yeah. We got some stuff in here.
Well, you know, it's kind of to be expected after a Hawaii game. You know, like we said, we kind of knew what we were getting into this week. Not a lot of new developments to talk about going forward. I still
don't like Mark. He was sitting like 4 rows behind me apparently in Texas Tech, and he didn't say hi.
I remember you saying that, but, you know, my man Mark's been popping in recently, so, you know, I got nothing but love.
Well, once again, make sure, as noted, please. Oh, that's not what I wanted. Damn it. That's too many damn tabs. Join us here every Tuesday, 9 p.m. Central, for the Oregon Ducks live show. You guys have a good night. Enjoy the Colorado game, and we will hopefully whoop their ass next weekend.
We'll get into it.
Oh, and just to piss Mark off, because everyone's been complaining I haven't done this, even though this was for the Sunday show. Until next week, enjoy.